Hello, Billy Grant here again. I'm the author of the two books behind me there, The One Who Shows the Way and My Christianity, Christianity for the 21st Century. And this is the second video, or part two, of me reading through the introduction of this book, My Christianity, Christianity for the 21st Century. And as I was saying in the prior video, that's because a lot of people make assumptions about what I'm writing about and that I'm pitching the same thing as most people writing about Christianity, when that's not the case. I'm challenging what's going on in the name of Christianity because of the state the world's in and the state that our societies are in, to give people an offering of what is actually there and available to us by way of guidance, spiritual guidance, outwardly and inwardly. That for me is what Christianity is, rather than buying into 2,000-year-old stories. So I'm just going to continue here, picking up from where I left off. Despite it being more than 13 years since all of this began, and with this second book over 80% complete, I think I have only just realised what something within me is up to. A few seconds ago, the following revelation flashed straight into my mind. It seems as if once awakened, our hungry soul continually searches until it finds and serves its only true vocation, consuming anything that it may deem to satisfy its hunger, with most of that food being knowledge. So that's still looking in the tree of knowledge rather than the tree of life. But it is only when it comes to learn that the only true food that will fulfill its hunger is found in the tree of life, that it begins to make substantial progress. With hindsight, and in this moment of consideration, this seems exactly like what I have been up to for the past 13 years, since my soul awoke and began its search for answers. When I first began that search in my early 40s, I quickly ended up in midlife crisis, or in crisis, as my existing mindsets became challenged and fell apart, leaving me with nothing to hold on to. At that time, I turned to Christianity as well as other religions and found that they didn't really help me in the way that I needed at the time. This resulted in my continued search until psychosynthesis psychology showed up in front of me and felt just right. This random showing up and feeling just right, perhaps being one of my first semi-conscious experiences of this holistic guidance, or Holy Spirit, out with and within me, even though I didn't realise it at the time. But this was when it all started coming together again, rather than me falling apart, and I could begin to refine my sanity. I was now beginning to trust the guiding spirit within life and within myself without fully realising just what it was, or that this was what I was doing and what I was looking for. So here I am 13 years later, trying to weed out what feels like a more essential Christianity from the strangling overgrowth that prevents it from being seen in all its truth and glory. A Christianity that contains and guides me, aligns with the teachings, sits with my inner knowing of truth, and that I can genuinely profess to others through personal evidence, and actually help other people evidence it within themselves when I work with people and coach them. So having just discovered what I'm up to, I can now begin to assemble all of what I've been writing for the past 9 months and see where it takes me. The difficulty of working through my embodied spirit, however, is that whilst I trust what feels clean and pure within me to weed out that which doesn't, I unconsciously slip back into my conditioned way of functioning and listen to my logic and reason instead. This embodied ability to discern truth is different from psychological functioning, as it involves being more attentive to the sense of truth and purity that operates within us. This way of insight, of course, sounds similar to instinct, or what women often call feminine intuition. But what if our words are also part of the problem? What if our psychological, self-righteous language is stopping us from seeing and accepting a higher guidance? What if this self-crediting is part of the self-esteemic, egotistic behaviour that we do to feel more secure due to the disconnect? In addition to utilising this embodied spiritual guidance, I request guidance of this holistic Holy Spirit in outer ways and keep paying attention to the teachings of Jesus. Now, although all of this helps me reduce my unconscious slipping into my own default psychological functioning, the additional difficulty is discerning when I have slipped into following my lower primal urges, my ego or my own deluded mind, and unconscious wishful thoughts, as is often the case. If you read my first book, The One Who Shows the Way, Evolving Humanity from Psychological to Psychospiritual Functioning, because that's what all of this is about. In other words, moving from eating of the tree of knowledge to eating of the tree of life. Basically the first commandment given to Adam by God in the Bible in Genesis, whether you're into that or not. If you have read my first book, then I reckon that you will already see that this second book is my further exploration into Christianity and human functioning, especially after having come to the conclusion in the first book that we threw the baby out with the bathwater when we rejected the teachings of Jesus along with a tainted Christianity. This is when we as a society abandoned a tainted Christianity that didn't sit with the holistic spirit of truth and rightness within us. Hopefully the results of this inquiry can then bring forth a deeper and purer understanding of Christianity that can resonate with more people and start to repair the damaged church. Although this book can stand alone, it has been written with the presumption that the reader has read my first book, the reason for that being that I don't intend to explain as much as I did in the first book about how I see that we function, and because I sense that this book is not about doing what has already been done. I also won't be showing my inner processing and live guidance, so that's that spiritual guidance, anywhere near as much as I did in the first book, as that has also been demonstrated sufficiently in book 1, and has a tendency to make reading trickier for the reader. It is, however, just as active. I also repeat the same message several times in slightly different ways because the chapters were written in different orders from that which I present them here, and because they were standalone writings as they happened. They were, however, all written over the course of 2017. My subsequent reason for leaving these repeated messages is then to help them land and be remembered by the reader. This is because we have become so conditioned into functioning psychologically that we need constant reminding and endless help to see what we do, this repeating having a coaching effect on the reader. On many occasions I use the word self when what I'm really talking about is the ego. But I'm doing it deliberately because when we function at the level of the ego, we sense that as self. Please note that all quotes come from www.biblegateway.com and are from the NIV version of the Bible. So, yeah, that then takes me on to part 1, which I'll do maybe as a separate video, and I'll maybe do bits of chapters to take you into the body of what it is that I'm saying rather than just giving you the kind of overarching introduction. So, hopefully that's given you a bit of a feel for what I'm about, what these books are about, and what I'm trying to do.